All right, what is up, my friends? I want to show you something really quick on, it's something called Engineering Robo. You've seen me talk about it before. It's a trading view indicator, but it has some neat features to it that you're not going to see in other things. If you're interested in trying this, by the way, as I go through it, if you want to check it out, got a 7-day free trial. It's in the description below. So what we're looking at here is back in late February of this year. I did a simulation and put some numbers together here throughout the lows, throughout the highs, and came to a conclusion based on some of the things I was looking at personally that, sometime later this year, of course, at the time, it looked like it might have been, right at the end of September, the start of October. I don't know if that's going to happen or not, but here on this simulation, when it was done back then, it was showing most of the tops were coming in. You can see right here, it was rolling over. It did continue to go up a little bit into 2026, but I'd rather look at it on a shorter time frame and just see what it's going to do. This is a weekly. So I'm going to show you what it shows right now. At the time, the thing that mattered to me was trying to see when the bottom was going to be in. And this was right about the bottom. And I'll show you here. Let's see. So that was February 28th. At the time, we were at about 74K, maybe 76K, something like that. So if we go back here and look at what that looked like, yeah, it was right around here during end of February, March. So this was really close to the low. So it did a good job showing us the low. And we felt like that was, starting to come in. So I think I went in pretty heavy here on some tokens, ETH in particular, because it looked like it was turning around. So that helped to make that decision. Now, if we look at what it's showing us currently, and I've got some really cool things to show you more than this. So, just stick around because this one's going to be short, but I think it's going to be real informative for you as well. So if I've got the same exact lines as I had in the post here, the sim low, sim medium, sim high. I'll also put my top prediction, which is right at 197K. And if we look at this on a 2-day chart, which I definitely prefer 2-day, it's a good mix between the daily and the weekly. It's going to lag just a little bit, but it's also going to give you stronger signals. So if we throw out the 2 simulation lows here, and we throw out the 2 highs, then you can see we kind of cluster right in here between the sim median and the top prediction that I have right here. So basically that would tell us that if this is correct, we will get a top somewhere between 140 and 190-ish, somewhere in there. And then the top, or what it's showing, the top shows that it could come in as early. Trying to see where it's at here. It looks like most of them are clustering. I'm just looking at the top peaks here. Most of them are around November. Yeah, it looks like November mostly. So even if it just reaches the median here, just kind of rolls over here near the median, about 150K, then that top would be somewhere in October. I mean, that would have to happen pretty quick, right? Things would have to start moving up pretty quick. But anyway, the latest would be somewhere around maybe December. So this is still thinking that we're going to top out this year. But again, we need to start seeing this thing, begin to turn up. And according to this, we might have some sideways, or it might just immediately start pushing up. But there are 2 simulations here that say, it just kind of bleeds out, not really knowing what happens from there. Maybe it's saying the top's already in, but that's why I throw out the bottom 2 and I throw out the top 2. And if we look, currently I'm looking at just the regular candlesticks. If we switch over to Heikinashi, is that they call it? Yeah, Heikinashi. Then it becomes even more obvious what this thing's predicting, because you see all this cluster. I mean, if you throw out the bottom and the top, you can see everything clusters right here in the median range. So median all the way up to my prediction. Let me just see what else it shows here. It's got a very early top in November. But according to this, on the Heikinashi candlesticks, it looks like this thing keeps pushing up even past December. So there's a couple of different ideas here, and it mirrors some of the ideas that we're seeing on X. Some people are saying, oh, the top's already in, so that would be this bottom one. And there's some saying that we're going to top this year, and that would be mostly these median ones right here. And there's some that kind of go along with this thought of the upper ones that say it could happen in Q1 of 2026, maybe even into March. And that's what I believe. I believe that either it happens near the end of this year, or maybe it extends into March or something in Q1 of next year. And I've talked about that before. What else is I going to show you? So there's one more thing, and I'm going to show you Bitcoin dominance here in a second as well, because it's really interesting. If we take this off here, we remove the simulation, and then we put on the best buy and best sell levels, and then we go over to the daily chart. I want to show you what this thing has done in the past in predicting the bottoms and the tops. So all the way back here, of course, Engineering Robo didn't exist back then, back when this was happening. So the first one we can look at here, the red line is where to sell. The green area is where to buy. So if you would have bought there, sold here in 2017, any of these peaks would have been a really nice gain for you. Bought here, even with this huge dip in 2020, you could have bought more right there, but it was really the same level as this. And then it touches that red line, gets close to it here, and then touches it twice right there in 2021. Could have sold there. And then here was the best buy level there. And currently, I mean, it's pretty high up there, but here's what happens as price, extends out and starts to top out. This thing will, it might curve back down to meet the top. So I'm not saying that this thing's going to hit 330K. I mean, anything's possible, right? I really don't believe we're going to go over 250K for this cycle, but if it did, then this thing would be right again. I would just be watching. If you do use Engineering Robo, again, it's in the description below if you want a 7-day free trial. But if you do use it, personally, what I would do is if it gets near the red line, I would consider taking, a lot of my profits out, because to me, it seems like, each cycle, it extends into this red line just a little bit less. It barely touched it there. So if this does happen, I mean, let's say this thing just rolls back over. Trying to see what it did in the past here. It actually kept going up, once Bitcoin was moving up. So I don't know that it's going to roll over. I mean, maybe this thing does go to that high, but I'll be watching that closely. My prediction of 197K, I'm going to be taking profits there regardless. But, if I leave some in, then I would watch, the next thing that I would watch is this red line right here. You know what? I had that on Heikinashi. Let's just see what it shows on this one, because this is the regular candlesticks. No, it's about the same level. Okay. And I don't know if it shows anything different on weekly. I think daily is the recommended one to use. Yeah, it's not even showing up on weekly yet. I mean, it just now showed up. So, don't use it on weekly. Let's see what 2-day shows. 2-day is giving us 230K. So that's more reasonable. And that's why I like using 2 days. It's more smoothed out. Yeah, so that looks pretty good to me. Here's the last thing I'm going to show you. So we know Bitcoin dominance has been dropping. Here's the close-up view on the 2-day. It's saying we could come up a little bit and then keep coming down, or it just starts going down immediately for the most part after going sideways. If you zoom out, if it's hard to really see what the majority of these lines are doing, this is a clearer picture. Again, I would probably throw out the bottom two, I'd throw out the top two, but you can see this cluster right here. Some of them kind of go up and then go down. Some of them, go down and then up a little bit and then down again. But for the most part, you're seeing most of them trend down, right? And here you go with ETH BTC, which is, the most important chart for seeing if the king of alts, ETH, is strong against Bitcoin. And according to the simulation, it says yes, it still is strong. It says it could dip down a little bit more. Again, I'm throwing out the top two and the bottom two, but the majority, the trend is up, right? If you do like this and you zoom out, you're seeing most of these trend up. So it's looking good to me. I thought you'd enjoy this different look using an AI simulation. We'll see how it plays out. I like that we can go back and look at this one that I posted and see that it actually worked out for us and that things are still trending up. So we'll see how it plays out. We'll do another one of these videos next week to look at Nansen and those sorts of things that you enjoy looking at. Hit the like, hit subscribe, share it with your friends. I know a lot of people will be interested in seeing something like this because it's out of the norm. you know, most people don't have an AI simulation that they can bring up like this. All right, comment, you know, anything different you want to look at in the future, just let me know. Have a good weekend.